East Podcast, WATP.
Opie is really trying his best to fill the void that Stuttering John has left since abandoning his YouTube channel and no longer doing the Stuttering John podcast.
It's a tall order.
It is. But Opie is doing it by going on YouTube, creating a brand new YouTube channel, going on Twitter. He is making sure that he embarrasses himself everywhere he can and helping guys like me out a ton. And this all connects to the Legion of Skanks just dropped their episode where Jim and Anthony were on along with Ari Shaffir. So you have Anthony Cumia, Jim Norton, and Big Jay. Big Jay is a Dabbleverse Hall of Famer.
I've had conversations with Big Jay
without ever entering the Dabbleverse.
He loves it.
He loves it.
He follows it pretty close.
He does. He knows everything that's going on, which I appreciate about him. So I want to start off with, we talked about this with Cardiff came on. There was that tweet that Jim Norton put out, and then Opie used that to justify going after Jim Norton in multiple videos since then. So let me just remind you what Jim's tweet was. Just a reminder, if you want to show everyone how great you're doing, make sure to respond to every negative comment on social media and tell them how great you're doing. That's all it says. There's no one tagged in it. There's no other context to it. And it's a valid point. It's a valid point. And so Opie retweeted that and said, hey, do you still spit on the floor and wish terrible things on people and their families when they don't go with your utter BS? This is my new YouTube channel, you pig.
What the fuck?
So I guess he's trying to like out Jim for something that people don't know about him in a very aggressive way here.
I never understood it. They spit on their own floors.
So Opie got very offended by this thing that wasn't meant for him. And he went on his show and he goes, and Jim Norton's passively aggressively tweeting about me and not even tagging me in it because he's such a bitch and he's such an asshole. So our speculation at the time was, I don't think that was meant for Opie. I think Jim was probably, I mean, who knows who that was directed to or who that was about. Jim goes on Legion of Skanks and confirms it was not about Opie.
I literally never, everyone says they don't check Twitter mentions, or I really don't check them. Like I tweet something and I take it off my phone, but he told me yesterday that like, oh yeah, he misread something I said. He thought it was directed to him. I said, I don't give a fuck. I just don't
Jimmy's
care.
never
I don't
said
care.
anything.
I don't know what that was exactly. But none of it's on social media for me. I see it all on YouTube, like YouTube clips, people breaking down everything.
Oh, do you watch that? Yeah.
So there was something
Jay goes to YouTube to read people's tweets.
That's right. That's what we do here. We show you the tweets on YouTube. Thanks for watching, Jay. We appreciate it. Love you, buddy. All right. So we just heard it there. Jim goes, yeah, I heard that Opie took offense to something. I had nothing to do with him, and I didn't even see that he retweeted it. I don't know what any of this is about. Because Jim literally has moved on. He doesn't talk about Opie. He's not worried about Opie. He's on his like 15th show since the Opie and Anthony show. He's doing so many other things. And yeah, I think he explains that here.
But he's taking a shot, Opie. He's out there pranking people.
That's what it is.
Which I saw one today. He got kicked out of the plaza. Spoiler alert.
You probably know more than I do. I'm not even angry. I just
Sure,
don't,
I believe you.
I truly don't give a fuck. Like, and it's not out of indifference. It's like, ugh, like you work with somebody, years later you don't work with them. It is what it. Who cares?
Opie getting kicked out of the plaza. Did we play that on this show or was it on WATS? I know I played that clip where
It was this show.
Oh, it was on WATP. Yeah. So I think it's hilarious that Opie's trying this new Opie Unleashed NYC thing, and everyone's watching these videos, and everyone's going, "Oh my god, this is so embarrassing! What is this fucking guy doing?" And we're gonna see clips of Opie justifying it in a little bit. We're gonna talk about that. But so here's Jim Norton saying, "Dude, I don't care, man. I'm not paying attention to what he's doing. That's an ex-coworker. I haven't worked with him in years. I don't give a shit." Meanwhile, look at Opie's channel. Look at what he's talking about here. The truth about Jimmy, that just dropped a little while ago. I don't think I even saw that one yet. Anthony is soulless. We have more Opie and Anthony talk over here.
Don't miss trying the smelliest cheese ever.
Well, yeah, I skipped by that one. I'm sure it's hilarious.
Okay.
Jim Norton and Anthony's new podcast adventure. Opie without Opie and Anthony. Opie from the Opie and Anthony Fun Times, my journey in radio. Like, all he's talking about is Opie and Anthony and Jim Norton. That's all he's discussing. And meanwhile, you watch Jim actively, even when he's asked questions, like, dude, I don't pay attention. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. But Big Jay notices he's paying attention.
There are people that, you know, they still do a show. They have plenty of money. It's just for the pleasure of doing it.
But he's not enjoying it. That's what I'm
No, he's
saying.
not.
All of it.
I don't think
No,
Jay
no,
Leno
he's enjoying it.
the
Nobody
last
else.
5 years
I don't
of
think
doing
he is.
that show.
I think when I see him do the things where he's just talking in front of his window, it seems like he's like griping, and then people pay him money. It seems like, I think, to read something about how much they love you guys, and then he gets mad.
And it just upsets him.
And then he goes, and now he's doing like pranks on the street or something. I'm just like, this doesn't seem happy. Like, why don't you just do a fucking podcast talking about whatever, and whoever listens.
I don't
You
know
could
how
do the
many
job still.
Tween girls are going to be watching a 61-year-old do little pranks in the
You think that's
city.
what he's looking for?
That is Anthony's fantasy, by the way.
So I love Big J breaking this down. It's like, we can all see that Opie is miserable. He can't figure out what he's doing with himself.
You know what I remember about Opie? The happiest I ever saw Opie was when he had Cardiff and Rocco on.
We're right.
That he was smiling and laughing and having a good time. And then he was like, this will never get me back on real radio. So he got rid of them.
Yep.
And he's been miserable ever since.
The other time that he was happy and truly happy was with Carl Ruiz. When he would pal around with Carl and he'd get so excited, he'd be like, oh, we should podcast this. And Carl would be like, oh, you got the Zoom recorder with you? Come on, man. Carl just wanted to hang out, go get some beers and eat some ribs or whatever. But Opie was very excited back then. It's blatant that he's miserable now. And Opie will tell you the opposite. We're going to show clips of that. But I thought this was a great question from Big J, because a lot of people say when the Opie and Anthony show ended in 2014, when Anthony got fired from Sirius, a lot of people said the show had run its course anyway. It was in a decline, and it probably was running on fumes. So Big J asked these two guys who were on the show, 2/3 of the show, was the O&A show going to end anyway?
The actual thing, was it a time for that show to end anyway? Could you have gotten more good years out of it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because you had a great supporting cast with all the New York comics. You had in there.
It was still, you know, a name brand show, and there was a real problem because, look, I got the boot, and Opie didn't even consider, and I'm not saying he should have, but didn't even consider going, hey, why don't we take this and do a podcast? It's a very new thing at that point. Let's give it a whirl. And it was just like, no, I think he really believed he could do a great show without me. Like, it would be even better than O&A if it's just his show.
I was
Can I have an honest-
manically depressed, and I remember people kept saying, why don't you leave? My greatest fear was that I would leave, and then Anthony would get rehired, and then I would be fucking stuck.
Jesus.
Like, I was so worried that I would leave, and then all of a sudden they would go, you know what, Anthony, come back in 6 months.
I couldn't find a pointy white hat that fit him.
I kept sitting on it.
So there you have it from the guys who were there. And this is what I always say. Opie and Anthony show was great in 2014. I was very bummed out when that show ended. I mean, you were a listener back then, right?
Absolutely, all the way to the end.
Yeah. So the idea that Opie tries to float out there like, oh, it was dying anyway, we were going to be over, no one was listening anymore. It's like, no, that's not the case at all.
I gave Opie's show when they were in the afternoon when that all switched up. I was listening to that, and his story has always been that. It was time for a change.
Yep.
I floated doing exactly this when we were still together. Anthony and Jim do in the morning, I'll do the afternoon.
Correct.
And he also famously didn't want to negotiate long-term contracts.
Oh, you'd only go 2 years at a time.
Yeah, he wanted to have an escape route from these guys.
Which was stressful for everyone who worked on the show because they didn't know every 2 years, like a fucking congressperson, whether they're going to have their gig or not anymore. Now, this is fun because Ant tweeted out one of Opie's recent shorts that he put out on YouTube. So Jim's taking the high road. Anthony's having fun with it. So the bottom line is that Opie Radio can say whatever he wants about the various shows the people who were previously involved with the Opie and Anthony show are putting out there now. But this is what he's doing. Watch and be embarrassed for him. Don't feel bad for him. He's a fucking asshole. Just be embarrassed for him. So let me show you the video that he's talking about. I love that tweet from Anthony right there because this is what he's referring to.
Hi, Duty!
Can't look back. That's it.
he couldn't hit post fast enough after he recorded that, could he?
Oh, he had to put the silly music in, though, first.
Oh,
the
my
TikTok
God.
gives you the music bed to let you know how wacky and wild it is. He loves when dogs poop on the sidewalk. That's one of his favorite things. He can't wait to run up to the person, the owner of the dog who just pooped. And you know what? Dog owners love it, too. They're just like, yeah, my dog just defecated. I'm cleaning it up now. Thanks for noticing.
I'd love if someone just smeared him with it.
Oh, that'd be fucking
Get out of my
great.
fucking face.
Or they just stopped out and just sprayed everywhere.
How do you get to that?
So Opie retweeted that tweet from Anthony. He did a quote retweet on this. And Opie says, thanks for the clicks on a throwaway video, you obsessed drunk. So that's Opie's hot take on Anthony just pointing out that Opie's been talking we just showed it. Nonstop, he's talking shit about Anthony and Jim. And so Anthony goes out and just goes, hey, this guy's calling us out, but look at what he's doing. Okay, so go ahead and say whatever you want about what Jim's doing and I'm doing. This is what Opie's up to. So this is crazy now because Opie went on his show and he's going to let us know that he taught Anthony everything that Anthony knows. This is the era that we're in now with Opie, whereas, and he's been doing this a lot. We've been covering it on WATP. Everything that we liked about Opie and Anthony is all because of him. He hired Anthony. He hired Jim. It was his idea to do the format. It was his idea. He had this grand vision of what the show was going to be, and he made it happen. And all of this is because of him. And none of this would have happened without him. And he could have done it with anyone else, too. So this is him talking about that.
Are you planning on buying any more envelopes? So I got.
You know what that's referring to, right?
Yes.
The envelope video he did in Opie Unleashed.
So I got a new YouTube channel, Opie Unleashed NYC, and some of my stuff is IRL in real life. And during a live stream, I went in and I actually had to buy envelopes. So I was fooling around with the people in the store. It wasn't Stanley Kubrick level by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a moment of my life. And I guess Anthony, good old effing Anthony. Focused, he's smart because I taught him well. The whole Jocktober thing, that was my idea.
Wasn't it Sam Roberts' idea?
Opie's taking credit for it now. I don't know. I know people. I can ask around. I'll find. I'll get to the bottom of this.
I just always thought it was because Sam was the one who brought it.
Sam's the one who did all the work on it. But now Opie's claiming that Anthony just found that one video that was goofable, and Opie taught him how to do that, to goof on things that suck. Anthony would have no idea, but Opie gave him that knowledge to do that. Also, I love that he goes, well, it's not Stanley Kubrick. It's not even a Trisha Paytas mukbang video. Why are you comparing it to that? There's tons of IRL videos that are interesting. Yours suck. And Opie can't acknowledge that. And we're going to find out that he thinks that what he's doing is great content, even though every single person who's talking about it is talking about how shitty and awful it is and how embarrassing it is for Opie. But he cannot get over that. Before we get there, we're going to break down the fourth wall of Jocktober. This is something that I think the three of us know a lot about. We've been doing this for a long time.
Certainly.
Opie, explain this to us, please.
Even the best radio show, excuse me. This is why Jocktober worked. Even the best radio show. Let's say Howard Stern. Let's say the beloved, never did anyone nasty, Ron Bennington. You could take the beloved Ron Bennington. You could take the great Howard Stern. And even though they're considered great broadcasters and have great radio shows, you could find something that sucks.
Is that what Sam Roberts used to do on Jocktober? Find really good shows and then just pinpoint one little element of it that sucked? Oh, no, that's not what he did. He would grab the most recent episode, the episode from yesterday morning, and he would play multiple segments from it that all were goofable. And Opie's trying to turn this into now like, yeah, are people making fun of my videos? That's because they have to scour through hundreds of hours of my videos to find the one thing that's embarrassing. This is the first thing that I saw this week. And I went, I'll be playing this on WATP. Fucking idiot.
You didn't have to scour through, huh?
No. And Opie, again, is curating this for me. He's the one who made this video and put it up there for us to look at. So now he's, again, recreating history. Like you can make fun of Ron Bennington or Howard Stern with a Jocktober thing. Well, nowadays, Howard Stern for sure. Although it is difficult. It's a very slow show.
Hard to clip.
It's hard to clip, man. When I do Howard Stern segments, it takes me way more time than anything else we do on this show. It's brutal. I'll listen for 30 minutes, just go, what just happened? What's going on? what did I just listen to? Nothing just happened here. But this is, again, how he taught Anthony how to do this.
And I taught Anthony that many, many years ago. And a lot of the shows that we Jocktobered, the shows weren't even that bad. But if you look hard enough, you're going to find a dud. So Anthony's like, he's got a new channel. Let me try to rank this too. Let me try to rank this too for him. So, he found the dud video. I mean, it's an all right video. I still have it up there because I don't think it's horrendous. It's just all right.
He's talking about the envelope video. I mean, it's not the best one, but it's pretty good.
It's no Kubrick.
where you go around asking if the envelopes are near the tampons? That's the video we're talking about? You think it's pretty good? You think it's all right? And then you look at Haagen-Dazs? They say Haagen-Dazs.
But he said it funny.
Yeah, right. It's pretty, just like he did with the duty that was on the sidewalk. That's pretty good too. All right. And so Opie's upset because now everyone's goofing on this video. But if they would just watch the other content he has out there, they would know that's not the right thing to do.
And now they make fun of me every day, like this loser. Ignoring, I was going to say hundreds. I'm not up to that. Let's say ignoring dozens and dozens of very good videos on my new YouTube channel, Opie Unleashed NYC. I know how this works, you idiots.
All right. So this gave me an idea for a new
Stop
contest.
being mad at everybody.
This gave me an idea for a new contest. You know how I was praising Patrick Melton because he had a contest on his show? Find Chad trying to make a joke one time on his show and send it in and you win the contest. Find one video from Opie Unleashed NYC that's good and send that in to us. Find one entertaining video that Opie has put out because he says there's dozens and dozens of them. So this can't be a difficult contest to win. So I'm throwing that out there. Let me know if there's something good on there.
This harks me back to him with his radio podcast days where he's like, I challenge anyone to find anything funnier out there.
Yeah, remember that?
People were like, Schindler's List. Yeah.
I know, he thinks so highly of himself. He's such a narcissist. He doesn't realize that what he's doing is garbage, and it has been for years.
It's going to be bad because he has no passion for it. I like the way Adam Bush said it. I think it was like a week or two ago. He said he doesn't seem like he's really trying. Yeah. And that's kind of like a nice blanket for him where, it sucks, but it was all right. I didn't really try. So, go ahead and goof on it.
Yeah.
It's like a cope.
It's his cop-out.
Yeah.
Yeah, he always has that cop-out. It's just like, well, I'm not even trying to book guests. And also, I used to have a great thing going when Vic was alive and Carl Ruiz was alive. He says that a lot.
I could put effort in. I just don't feel like it.
Well, so this is the guy that I just showed his page has nothing but videos talking about Opie and Anthony and Jim Norton.
I honestly just want to move on. I know that sounds crazy, but every day I get hit with this crap. I just want to move on. I was moving on after Opie and Anthony, after I got rid of that miserable Jim Norton because that show sucked.
He just wants to move on.
The guy who's naming his videos.
Every single video is about Jim Norton and Opie and Anthony. And he's claiming he just wants to move on. And this isn't a rerun of WATP. This is a brand new episode you're listening to, everyone. How many times has he said this? I don't want to talk about that stuff anymore. Then don't. It's that easy. He acts like he can't help it because people are putting things in the chat. You don't have to read the chat. That's not a requirement on YouTube. You better read those chats out loud on your show or else we'll strike your channel down. It's such disingenuous bullshit this guy is doing. But he's going to remind us of why he got to where he is.
So Carl dies, Vic dies, and then for whatever reason, the whole O&A world, all of a sudden, it was like I stepped on the goddamn brakes, and now Opie and Anthony in the rear view mirror. This stupid Opie and Anthony is right behind me again. Yuck!
Now,
you're a bitter dude. Ope, you're a bitter dude.
I have to say, he's revising history. First off, when he had Vic and Carl Ruiz, we were playing a show every week. we were talking about with Anthony, and we were doing all this stuff that we're doing now. But also, he tries to paint this picture that things were going so well for him. Go back and listen to those episodes where they're walking around in crowded bars and telling them, can you turn the music off? And walking around the city, and Opie's just embarrassing his friend Carl by talking to strangers and homeless people.
Or worse, at his job.
Yeah, yeah.
Calling his employees Olas.
Yeah. What was her nationality? She was like French or something like that.
Yeah, Swedish.
Yeah. It's like, what do you mean an Ola? What are you talking about? But now remember, Big Jay picked up on, I trust Big Jay's judgment on this. Big Jay Oakerson said, Opie's not a happy guy. This is not going well for him.
I am at peace. Would I like my live stream to be a little bigger, my podcast to be a little bigger, my videos getting a little more views? Of course. That'll.
How about a lot bigger? How about a lot more views, Opie? Let's not pretend that you want to get from 75 live viewers to 180. You want a lot more than that.
Of course. That'll always be the thing. But I'm at peace because I had one of the craziest runs in radio history. I had a great run before Anthony. I had an amazing run with the Opie and Anthony show, I should say. And then I had a great run, short-lived, unfortunately, after Opie.
After Opie and Anthony. He was an evening jock playing modern rock on Long Island.
That's pretty good.
That was his great run before Anthony. And then after Anthony left, Opie and Sam lasted 2 years.
Opie and Jim.
Yeah, Opie and Jim. Did I say Jim and Opie?
He said Opie and Sam.
Thank you. I knew that there was some combination of these people. And then he got shoved to the afternoons, and no one listened to that show. But he remembers that show as being an amazing run. And he even puts out, and this is insulting to everyone, people who are involved in the show and just normal fans, he puts out my greatest year in radio, and he puts out old episodes from when it was him in the afternoon with Vic and Carl and Sherrod Small. It's like, Opie, no one thinks that. Not even Sherrod Small, who won't talk to you anymore, thinks that those were your best years in radio. Everyone knows it wasn't. But this is Opie saying that, of course, and what you were talking about, Vinny, Opie and Anthony had ran its course. It was time to move on anyway.
You know, the Opie and Anthony show it pretty much ran its course before Anthony blew himself up with the racist crap. That's why the company got rid of him. They weren't making as much money off us at that point. But if the Opie and Anthony brand would have continued, the smart thing would have been, if you were paying attention back then, was to split the show. Anthony has his show. Hopefully he would have taken stupid Jim Norton with him. I would have developed another show. I proved that with Carl and Vic. And then the Opie and Anthony brand would have lived on the channel. And we would have still done shows, but, not as many.
So who is he fooling with this? He proved that was... You got fired because nobody cared about your show when you were filming your coworker shitting.
So I'm trying to figure out this logic. Anthony is costing SiriusXM money with his racist stuff. So the idea is to take the guy who's still keep holding it together off the show and give Anthony his own show by himself. Yeah, is that the logic?
That makes no sense. And I think someone in the comments pointed this out, and I don't know if we've ever made this point before, but it was brilliant. The reason why Anthony was first picked up by Opie and had him invited onto the show was because of his blackface video about OJ. Yes. And Opie just like, I can't believe I heard this guy. He turned out to be a racist. What the fuck? But then it gets to the point where it's convenient for Opie to complain about that. And I didn't like it. So I didn't want that anymore. Opie is crazy.
This is the other thing. People think I'm going crazy. My family, and my friends around me laugh at this really hard. Whoever started this is a dope. Probably, I mean, at this point, anything that comes at me, I have to assume Anthony started it.
Okay.
Not a good way to go through life, Hope.
No, I know. I love that he goes, what, did Anthony tell you that? It's like, no. We're watching your show. It's a general observation. All of us are making this observation from watching your show. You look like you're going crazy.
Those are the proclamations people make before they get locked up, where it's like, everything that bad is happening is because of them.
Yep. Listen, I know that you guys think I suck, but it's because Anthony told you that. Anthony doesn't have that control over the internet. I just want you to know. There are a lot of people who don't like Anthony. A lot of people who don't like Jim Norton. So it's not like they're the ringleaders who are getting everyone to have the same opinion as them. And people are just observing you and going, wow, this guy's lost it. He's losing his mind actively.
There's a massive community of hatred for Anthony. And I don't know so much about Jim. I'm sure that there is. But don't you think, like, Opie, with these stances, if what you were doing was, like, really, really good, bro, they would find you and be behind you?
Yeah. No. That's what's the beauty of Opie is that because it's not his fault, he doesn't have to get better. So when he says, I wish I had a few more views, he's not doing anything to make that happen. He's doing the same old shit. Going to Gebhard's and having a beer with a guy who has no business being on a show. Like 2 or 3 guys who have no business being on a show. Or walking around New York and talking to the chat about what he's looking at. Or getting kicked out of a hotel.
All right.
Just to take it a step further, my introduction to Opie was this show that we're doing.
Yeah.
So I didn't go back with him. And I can tell just in the short time, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
He is losing it.
He's definitely losing it.
I know crazy. I date a lot.
Yes, right. He does have crazy chick energy.
Yes.
I agree with that. But last clip I have on here, and he's calling us out specifically.
See, you guys have to make up garbage about me, but there's actual real crap out there that you could go after. You know, like the basement shows that rip off Jocktober, the most dishonest people out there. They got material for years. For years. They know it. They know the crap that Anthony has done. They know the crap that Jim Norton has done, but they ignore that. They're incredibly dishonest.
So he just called us dishonest. Now, I don't know if you know this, Opie, but what we do is we review podcasts. And so when we review your podcast, we say it sucks. I think Jim's show is great. I think the Anthony Cumia show is great. So that's why we don't review those and say that they suck, because they're a lot better than your show. But I like that he's now calling us the Basement Podcast. That's fun. Maybe we should rebrand.
Have I told you Doug Bell is the greatest thing ever?
Oh, yeah, you're a big fan of the Doug Bell show?
Doug Bell. Just thinking back of all the things Jim Norton's done that are so different out of the realm of Opie and Anthony.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
everything he does.
Even when Anthony was with Opie and Anthony, he was doing the compound thing out of his house. Like,
right.
He always had like this eye on doing something different that didn't have to be that. And Jim's the same thing. Even though he was there, he was creating characters and making stuff.
Mm-hmm.
None of that had to do with Opie.
No, the Chip Chipperson show was fantastic. Doug Bell was a great character. And Opie is out of ideas. He's got nothing else except for, well, I guess I walk around the street a lot. Maybe that could be a show. My wife kicks me out of the apartment. She can have her friends over to play bridge. I don't know what his wife does.
Yeah.
I don't know what she wants him out of the apartment. I assume he can't be home all day long. Probably gets a little annoying. Probably gets a little annoying.
Who are these podcasts? WATP.